Hey everybody, it's Zach. Welcome back to the Heroverse. And guys, I just got done with All American Season 5, Episode 14, called Make Me Proud. Guys, this was a really, another good episode of All American. There really is no other way to put it. I really enjoyed this episode of All American. I'm really, enjoying this half of the season. I feel like, in a way, I've kind of, had multiple different feelings about this season, mainly due to the fact that we haven't really been getting that much football for a show that's called All American. So, ever since, the character Billy, they killed the character Billy off, I feel like, I've been more, invested in finishing the rest of this season. And I feel like, I don't, and if we didn't probably get that, which, is sad as it is, I probably think that I would have just, just gotten tired to the point of not maybe wanting to come back for season 6. I hate to say it, but that's kind of true. Like, if they didn't, do that kind of oh shit moment, that was the exact thing to really, spice up the show and kind of, get people's attention and kind of get people like, oh shit, things are actually happening with the show right now. I honestly don't know, if I would still be here watching the show, if I'm being honest. I feel like that was the thing that we needed. As sad as it is, I feel like that was the thing that we needed to, make a lot of people more oh shit, I can't wait to see where they go for the rest of the season, and then where they go going into season 6. But I just really enjoyed this episode, especially because at the point of this episode, as we saw from the promo for this week's episode, which is episode 14, like I said, called Make Me Strong, or Make Me Proud, this episode was really about, Jordan pretty much, now being the man of the house, and pretty much how he feels like he is, has to fulfill Billy's legacy after his passing, fulfill the things that Billy left behind, and he feels like that's, he is now responsible, and he has to, fulfill that kind of, role of being the man of the house. And I really thought that was a very interesting thing, because I really do love how, last week's episode, we opened up with a monologue, of course, to Olivia, but now this week's episode, we opened up to a monologue with Jordan saying, what do we do now that you left pieces behind and things that need to be, and a role that needs to be filled, and the role of, him being now the man of the house, he has to fill that role, and him feeling in this episode, he's trying to fix things that on Billy's, fix list, a chore list that he had. Jordan automatically thinks I need to be the man of the house. I need to do these things that the last things that my father wasn't able to do, and he has to feels like he has to fulfill that place, kind of fill in that place of being that man of the house. And I just really enjoyed that aspect of I was okay, this is totally Jordan feeling now he needs to be the man of the house. Now he needs to do the these last projects that his father was going to do before he passed. He feels like he needs to do that. He feels like there is no anybody else to do this. I need to fill in the gaps. I need to do what my father wasn't able to do. I'm now the man of the house. So I thought that was really interesting in this episode, him going through that, but also him kind of him, since he's now at GAU, and he kind of made that agreement, I'm going to be here at GAU, and kind of now, since Spencer is kind of wanting to leave GAU, it's now, and also, due to, of course, to the passing of, Billy, it's kind of now that, Jordan's the one that has to pick up the pieces, and kind of got stuck, trying to pick up the pieces with GAU, where, Spencer was trying to save GAU, but he got tired to the point where he wanted nothing to do with GAU anymore, because I feel also had to do with, it kind of reminded him being at GAU because of Billy. I feel like it's also, he wants to, GAU wasn't giving Spencer what he wanted about having a distraction. So now the fact of, I find it ironic that, Spencer tried saving GAU, but Jordan wanted to leave, and now Spencer wants to leave, and now Jordan is stuck trying to save GAU. And really, Billy was going to be the savior of GAU by him coming in, and kind of that was going to be the thing that A.D. Barnes needed, kind of that positive publicity about everybody's faith in the future of GAU. But since Billy's passing, it's A.D. Barnes is kind of putting that weight on Jordan, and kind of making making what Jordan is going through about losing his father kind of as a pity piece almost, for everybody to be AD Barnes is like, oh, like Billy was going to, stay here at GAU before he passed. He was going to be the new head coach here. When we all know that, like, that's not the case. That he said, like, everybody knows over at South Crenshaw, like, no, he was going to go back to South Crenshaw and still be the coach of South Crenshaw. He was never going to take the job at GAU. But AD Barnes pretty much brought Jordan up, pretty much, and kind of, put the weight of, like, what Jordan was going through as kind of like, like, everybody, like, the pity GAU, and pretty much, using, Billy's death and what, what Jordan's going through pretty much as, like, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to use it because that would get, like, everybody loves, like, a sad story. Pretty much using that in his own, like, as fair game, and using that as kind of, like, like, this is going to help me, like, recover, make GAU recover, which was really cut. That AD Barnes was doing some shit like that, using Billy's death as, like, a puff piece, as, like, a positivity piece of, like, like, you know what I mean? Like, like, pretty much, yeah, like, it's real messed up that that's what he was trying to do. And even Jordan's like, if I knew that, AD Barnes, this was his plan about, making it sound like my dad was going to chose GAU to be the head coach here, when in reality, that's not what, that was not my, like, what my father was going to do. I would have never been up there on the stage, but he kind of set me up to the point where, like, I couldn't say no, you know what I mean? I couldn't say that that isn't what happened, because people are going to be like, you went up there, and it's kind of like he set Jordan up, using, what happened to his father, and, and him kind of making Jordan now the new savior. Be like, well, since his father passed or whatever, like, Jordan's kind of like, yeah, like, Billy being here and being the coach is going to set up his Jordan's future and everybody's future. But now that he's passed, it's like Jordan gets to continue that future. He's putting the weight of GAU, about saving GAU, now on, like, Jordan's shoulders. And I kind of felt bad for Jordan in this episode. While he's trying to be the man of the house, he has to deal with also trying to be kind of like, he got stuck in this position to be the face of GAU, to be the new face, while his, since his father's passing, he's like, AD Barnes kind of made Jordan the face of GAU automatically, saying, you're going to be the next Baker to save GAU, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to make you do it, and you know what I mean? I'm going to set you up, essentially, and that's exactly what he ended up doing to Jordan. So I feel bad why he's trying to be the man of the house, trying to fix things around the house, and he's failing miserably. He also has to deal with being the face of GAU, and that's not what he wanted. And he does, and it's the fact of a face of a lie about his father staying at GAU when he knows that isn't the truth, and everybody at South Crenshaw knows that that isn't the truth. And not only does it get, it's not only on Jordan's shoulders about, like, I know this isn't true, and I don't want to be the face of GAU, and you know what I mean, I have no one here to kind of, like, help me out of this. Because, he can't rely on Spencer, because Spencer wants to leave GAU, and he had to find that out through, Coach Kenny pretty much bringing in, Jordan and Spencer, or not Coach, D.A. Barnes bringing in Jordan and Spencer, asking them, okay, what are we going to do to save GAU now that Billy's, gone? Like, what are we going to do? It's like the fact of, like, Spencer's like, if you're not here to help get in a good word for me, to help, like, so I can get the transfer papers in, help get them signed so I can leave GAU, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be here. And pretty much, like, D.A. Barnes is like, okay, like, if I have a lot on my plate trying to save GAU, if you're not going to help out, you can leave. I have a lot on my plate. I'm not going to help you try to get your paper signed so you can leave. And the fact that that's how Jordan found out that Spencer was leaving was really cut, because Spencer literally is in this kind of, like, he's kind of in his Homelander arc. Like, he's using, like, all of that, anger and kind of guilt about him kind of leaving the things, like, leaving things the way he left things with, Billy, kind of leaving things the way he left things with Billy. It's kind of like he's using, like, him not wanting to talk about it, him, being, like, feeling like he has guilt about what happened, and him just being angry. It's like he just, like, is just, like, telling everybody to essentially F off. Like, that's what he's doing. He wants nothing to do with anybody right now. He kind of just wants to have fun, and kind of wants to kind of, like, focus on football. He wants to leave everybody that I feel like that's connected to Billy behind. And I feel like he's just honestly, like, on his, like, Homelander arc. Like, he just isn't effing with anybody in this episode, and he really isn't ever since Billy died. And I really feel like I'm really worried about Spencer, and I feel like that's what next week's episode is going to be about, is how, like, everybody's noticing, like, what Spencer is doing, and it's going to lead to something, like, really bad. It's not going to end well, that he's not, like, talking to anybody, and he's not, like, processing Billy's passing the right way. He's kind of deflecting, and I'm really happy that, I think her name is, it's like Kiara. I don't know if it was, like, Kiara, I think that was her name, if I'm correct. Let me just check. I just want to make sure. Uh, yeah, it's Kia. Yeah, Kia, not Kiara. Jesus. Kia is back in this episode, which was really cool to see Kia. I can't remember the last time we saw Kia. An All-American. I want to say probably maybe it was sometime in season like 4 maybe was the last time we saw her. I think as they were kind of getting ready for like the graduation part of season 4, I think that's when we ended up seeing her, but we haven't seen her in a minute. So it was cool to see Kia again. It was also cool to see Frosto again because he's back in, at South Crenshaw. And it was just, it was really cool to see them kind of do like a get-together party, but also like they were trying to they saw Kia and Frosto both saw, in person what Spencer is doing and how he's deflecting, and kind of like I'm happy that Frosto kind of put Spencer in his place, saying like, what happened to you being Crenshaw strong, the fact that you're running away from your problems over at Beverly, like that's what you always do, like what happened, like what happened to you, because you never you used to be this way, like why are you doing this now? It's like, I'm glad that he's kind of like, I thought you grew out of that, but you're still doing the same old Spencer James shit. You're running away from your problems. And I thought Coach taught you better about being Crenshaw strong. And it's just like, I think that was the push that I feel like I wish that Spencer needed, but like in a way he's still deflecting. And, he tried kissing, Kia, which I was like, bro, come on, man. Like, that's not the solution. He's kind of like, I'm glad that Kia also called him out on his bullshit, saying like, this is 9th grade Spencer, about you deflecting and you being rude and you kind of, just acting like how you used to act, wanting to pick fights and shit. It's like he's doing he's putting on a facade, putting on a mask, and trying to run away from his problems and trying to be someone he's not. And I'm glad that Frosto and again Kia put him in his place, but it's like it still didn't do it. He's still so many people are trying to give him advice. So many people are calling him out for his bullshit. But I'm waiting for the right person to really sit down and have that conversation to him, because it's like with what was it with I'm trying to remember his name. Why can't I remember bro's name? Because it was Laura with I can't remember bro's name right now, and it's crazy. I can't right now. I'm trying to look up his name real quick. It was Laura with Jabari. She was Jabari needed Laura to talk to him to get him through his guilt and feeling like his life was meaningless and all like that. Laura needed to talk to him. You know what I mean? It's like, so who's going to be there to talk or I guess and everybody needed to be there. I guess Spencer needed to be the one to get Olivia through what she was going through. Who was going to be that person for Spencer? I'm really curious to know, because he's pushing everybody away. He's putting on a facade about being the old Spencer, the 9th grade Spencer James, about running away from his problems and picking fights and just doing this because he wants to avoid wants to avoid the pain of kind of of dealing with the fact and processing the fact of Billy is gone. You know what I mean? So he needs to let that out, and I'm wondering who's going to be that person to do that. But also in this episode we have a lot going on with Laura living in the Baker house, and also living with Layla, Coop, and Olivia. She's kind of mothering them. That's what she's doing, Laura. She's, I think she's bringing down, she's making it cold in the house. She's messing with Patience's coats. She's doing all these things or whatever in the house. She's throwing away mail that she doesn't find important. But we find out in this episode is she's not really trying to mother them. Essentially she's mothering them because that's what she used to do to Billy. She used to kind of, in a way, mother Billy, essentially. Do things for Billy that I guess a mother would do. She's kind of she was wifing him, I guess you could say. I guess that, or mothering him or wifing him or whatever the term is. But she's kind of since Billy was gone, she kind of started doing that to them instantly, because that was her kind of daily routine, was doing that. So she thought, oh, this is me kind of, still doing my day-to-day life, but I'm going to do it to them. I'm going to do it to Olivia. I'm going to do it to Patience. I'm going to do it to Coop. I'm going to do it to Layla. Even though they didn't like it, they didn't realize that that's what she was doing. She was just doing what she would do for Billy. So that was just really sad because, you know, she thought that she wasn't doing what she was doing was like wrong until like Olivia kind of, you know, I guess it was like Patience and Layla's idea to kind of do a spa day at the Baker house. And kind of, you know, Olivia broke it to, you know, Laura, and Laura's like, oh my god, like I am doing that, and I shouldn't be doing that anymore. And she kind of had the realization that like I need to not do what I did to Billy, like what I did for Billy anymore. I need to kind of move on. I can't keep doing the same thing that Billy wouldn't want me doing. I need to just move on and start just doing my own things now. And that was really, it was sad, but it was the thing that she needed to hear for her, like to know that I need to like keep moving forward, and I need to find new routines, not stuff that I used to do for Billy. So I liked that too, and I feel like that also goes for Jordan about, you know, him realizing that I need to like not, I need to not kind of, finish my father's legacy. Like my father's legacy isn't my legacy, and me doing like these little tasks and stuff isn't my responsibility. Because even like Laura like ended up telling Jordan like, this Billy tried to make it his responsibility, but again, I needed to be there to end up calling to have people replace the stuff that he made even more broken. You know what I mean? Like, so I loved that he kind of had the realization of like, oh shit, like I guess I am more like my father than ever. That's the fact of, I'm doing stuff. You know what I mean? Like he kind of felt dumb about it and stupid about it. Like, I feel like an idiot that I thought that that's what dad would have done. She's like, that's exactly why you're so much like your father, because you wanted to do something and wanted to be the man of the house, but in reality that's just not who you both were. You know what I mean? You guys just aren't the fixer dudes. So I loved that, kind of how they had the realization of like, I need to not fulfill my father's legacy, I need to make my own legacy. I can't be in his shadow. You know what I mean? Because that's not what he would have wanted for both of them, about doing stuff that, when he was there, doing stuff like that. You know what I mean? Kind of, it's not his responsibility to be the man of the house and fulfill his legacy with, doing stuff around the house, but also like doing stuff for GAU. Like was not Jordan's position to be doing. So I love that. And the same as Laura, kind of, still trying to do like the mothering, but do it for the girls in the house that are living in the house at the Baker house. So I just love how they realize that they need to do their own thing, and and Jordan needs to realize he can't fulfill Billy's legacy. He needs to do his own. And I thought that was, again, like really good and really nice for Jordan to know that, because he felt really responsible and like, I need to be the man in the house. There's chores that need to be done, I need to do them. And it's like, no, like, Billy thought that he needed to do those chores too, but like Laura was the person to call the person in to actually fix the things that Billy just ended up breaking even more. So I love his, like, he's like, maybe like if my dad can be the man in the house, it's like, I shouldn't feel bad that I'm like, that I'm trying to be the man in the house when he really couldn't be the man in the house essentially and do those things. You know what I mean? Like, I can be here, but like, I'm not the person to do that stuff. So I liked how he had that realization. And I'm also glad that, since he had no one to really talk to, and he had that like tough, conversation with Spencer, because Spencer was just ignoring him. And like, even though like Jordan wanted to talk about like, hey, like, why are you leaving? And he kind of wanted to give, Spencer space. It's like, I'm glad that Olivia said that, oh, like, you can use this opportunity about what you're going through with AD Barnes, and kind of like try to get in some, try to see what's going on with Spencer and why he's leaving GAU, like kind of use like what you're going through as like an excuse to talk to him about what he's going through. When it's like, that still didn't work, because Spencer just kept ignoring Jordan's phone calls, ignored Olivia's text about our phone call about, wanting to talk to him. And then she left him a text saying like, I'll be here for you, or I'll be here when you're ready to talk. But it's like, that tough conversation where he's like, like, why are you acting like there isn't like 3 years worth of friendship between, me and you, Spence, like, what's going on here? And he's just wanting to like, wanted Jordan to leave him alone. Like, I feel like he wants to put everything that like that reminds him of Billy in the past. I feel like that's what he wants. And I feel like that's why he wants to leave GAU, because Jordan's there and his memory of Billy is there. And kind of like, I feel like he wants to just leave everything that is connected to Billy behind. And that's really dangerous. And I'm like I said, I'm interested to see what brings him and pulls him back in for him to finally, grieve and process Billy's death. I'm waiting for the moment where like he will cry and kind of just, will come to terms with the fact that he shouldn't feel guilty or feel, bad about what happened. You know what I mean? Or feel like, feel like, responsible, or kind of feel like guilty that he didn't have that conversation. He needs to kind of let that guilt go, and needs to realize that, Billy wouldn't want him to feel guilty about not having that last conversation with him, you know what I mean, or not picking up the phone to have that conversation. He would never hold that over Spencer, and Spencer needs to realize that. So I'm excited to see where that will go, and what will finally, like, wheel him in to be that, like, Spencer that we know. Because, like, I got really annoyed when Spencer was just being rude to everybody in this episode. And I know that it's like he's trying to, like, process his own grief in his own way, even though it's a dangerous way, and a way that no one should be processing grief. It's like, I don't know, I'm really hoping that, we can get our old Spencer back. But, I feel like they're trying to, like, teach us the lesson also, like, grief takes time to process. Processing grief takes time. I feel like that's what the writers want to tell us. But, like, I don't know, I'm really hoping that, like, Spencer will, like, someone will, like, finally get through to him that it's like, it's not your fault what happened, because Spencer probably thinks it is. And I mean, and finds that, he feels like, like, just because he wasn't able to finally, like, have that conversation with Billy, and he feels like, sad and guilty about what happened. But also, like, the biggest thing about this episode, though, was definitely, Coop, Patience's kind of album release for Fire and Ice. Or I guess not our album release, I guess it was our music video release of Fire and Ice. Which I was like, okay, this is really cool, but until the part where I was like, oh shit, Miko's in this episode, I was like, oh no, we're back on that, like, because we left it weird with Miko, with, her constantly sending Patience text messages, concerned the shit out of me. I was like, oh no. She broke the one rule that she had about getting close to fans, and she said, at a distance, my fans are cute, but when I get close to them, that's when they end up being crazy. It got to the point in this episode where I was like, oh shit, this just is not good. I'm really scared. I got really scared when she kept texting Patience. But the fact of it is now is that, she was waiting for Patience at her local spot where is it? It's on the tip of my tongue what the place is called. At Slauson Cafe. Like, she was waiting for Patience at Slauson Cafe, and just happened to run into Patience. Was like, no, like, you knew that was Patience's place, and you were waiting for her. It's like, and she's like, oh, like, what are you doing here? I thought you would be, like, getting ready for your big, music video release. And she's like, oh, I'll try that, anytime there's a hater, I block out the haters, and I block them. So, I'm going to get the whole, like, I'm gonna get all the fans together to support the music video release tonight, and all this and that. And I'm like, oh my god, like, this is, like, getting scary or whatever. Like, she's like, oh, like, it happened to play out that she wasn't waiting there for Patience, and she's like, oh, ever since you brought me here, this is my new favorite place. And I'm like, like, brought you here? You've already been here before. What do you mean I brought you here? That got me real creeped out. I was like, oh, okay, this is getting really creepy. Like, we're doing, like, some crazy Carrie vibes again. I was like, oh shit, like, we're really doing this again. And I'm worried for Patience's safety, because it's like, when the flowers got sent to the Baker house, I instantly knew. I was like, oh my god, like, this was Miko. And I was like, but apparently, like, it got to the point where I guess, like, Patience thought that, like, Miko's, I guess, I don't know if Patience, yeah, by the way Patience, like, had the look on her face, like, oh my god, like, I can't deal with this right now, because I guess that she calls, like, because Miko said, the Vortex is, like, building up the publicity about the music video or whatever. And I was thinking to myself, okay, like, so did Patience think that the Vortex, meaning, like, the vortex of, like, I don't know what she thought, because I knew she thought, oh, the flowers are from Miko. So I thought it was like, oh, like, did she think that, like, it was flowers that were sent to, like, were sent kind of, like, to to Layla's, like, like, label place, like, they were sent there, and then, like, Gia or Layla brought them to the Baker house. I think that's what, Patience thought. Until we realize, oh shit, like, when Gia's like, I brought the flowers, off from on your doorstep into the house. And then she realized, oh shit, like, and she thought, I guess, like, the flowers were from, like, everybody from the Vortex, but then that's usually like, no, we didn't all do the flowers. So Vortex meaning that, I guess, that, like, Miko is the one that sent these flowers to the house, and she knows the address, she knows where Patience like lives. I was like, okay, like we're getting to the point now where like this is like super dangerous, even though we've kind of been a lead up at the moment when she's like, okay, like Miko knows where Patience lives, even though I kind of thought automatically Miko must know because she sent the flowers earlier, but I still got like, I didn't process like at that moment like, oh shit, like Miko knows where Patience lives until Layla said Miko knows where Patience lives. I was like, oh shit, this isn't good at all. I was like, oh damn, like I don't know why it took for me to hear Layla say it, because maybe I got confused, like, okay, like I kind of have an idea that like the flowers were sent to from Miko from, I guess, like or maybe she made it sound like, oh, the Vortex sent the flowers, but in reality she kind of had the idea like, oh, I think Miko sent these flowers. But I don't like also that like Patience is trying to cater to Miko and her and like the positive fans on the fact that she's like, oh, maybe we should put out a statement before we drop the music video that like I'm like, this is still the old me, just with a new spin on it. And then Layla's like, and Gia are like, why are you trying to kind of why are you trying to like kind of trying to like do stuff for Miko or whatever, like why are you letting Miko control like what you're doing and you doing like your new like and this being the new version of you, like why are you letting her control like the outcome of what your choices are? And of course she's like, because Miko has a big fan club for me, and I'm like, but it doesn't give the right of like once Miko kind of has an idea of like, oh, like Patience is like catering and kind of and Patience is listening to Miko, I feel like that gets to the point where like she's gonna try to officially start controlling Patience, and that's gonna be really scary, because I feel like once you cater to something like that, when you know that this fan's already crazy, it gets to the point where I think Layla and Gia know like, okay, like you're catering to her and you're kind of listening to her and what your decisions are of like what you want to do. I feel like Miko will feel like she has the power to control Patience at that point, and kind of will have power over her. Be like, Patience, that I have a big following, that that my fan, like my fan pages have big followings for you, and I can turn them on you like that. I feel like she'll hold that over Patience because she knows that Miko knows that Patience knows that like Miko is kind of keeping out the haters and is kind of trying to like, in her favor essentially. And she's like, oh, I can keep out the haters or whatever. So like, I'm gonna keep keeping out the haters, and I'm gonna have all the positive, fans of yours kind of rally behind your new, spin on what you're doing of going forward, like your new like look you got going on. So it's like, I feel like that's dangerous, because she's gonna feel like, oh, like I feel like Miko would be like, I have the power because you're listening to me, and I feel like maybe they know that now. So I'm a little worried that she's gonna turn her fan clubs against Patience. Maybe when like Patience kind of, or maybe Layla or Jordan and all of them like kind of retaliate against Miko and her passing back, like crossing boundaries on her sending things to the house and finding out where Patience lives and doing all these certain things. I feel like instantly she can turn on Patience and start, maybe, doing things. Or maybe who's to say that, like, Miko isn't the one that's, like, isn't the one that's kind of saying these things about Patience and is trying to swoop in and act like she's the nice fan that's trying to protect Patience. Who's to say that? So that way, maybe this was Miko's idea of trying to get Patience closer to her, or trying to have Patience trust her, so that way she'd have some control over Patience. You know what I mean? Like, who's to say some shit like that? I don't know. I'm scared, though, because I don't like what they are doing. I'm really scared. You know what I mean? Like, it gets to the point where, like, she knows where Patience lives. I wouldn't be surprised if she's the one that kind of is the so-called, toxic fans that are saying stuff about Patience, when in reality it might be her, but her saying that, oh, I'm going to keep out the haters, is what's getting her closer to Patience, and Patience thinking of her as a friend. And is giving, Miko control, you know what I mean? Saying like, oh, it was giving Miko control over Patience in a way. And I feel like maybe Layla and Gia are starting to see that, like, okay, why are you letting Miko get into your head about all these toxic fans and all how the good, like, her and her fan club is gonna rally behind you and you doing your new look, but also like you want to put it out there that that the old you is still there, you know what I mean? So like, I don't know, I'm real worried about that, what's going forward with that. I feel like that was my main concern of this episode. Was like I just kept having like straight up anxiety about, okay, this isn't good. I don't like what's going on here. She just happened to be at Slauson Cafe, said that, oh, this is her new favorite spot ever since she took her there, since the patient took her there, to have her say like, oh, I'm gonna like, I keep like I blocked all the haters that are saying like, oh, like you've changed or whatever, and I keep telling them as, oh, like wait until the music video happens, and know that you haven't changed, and this is just a new look that you got going on. And her now wanting to make a post because Miko said that, to kind of cater in Miko's favor, is giving her Miko some control that I feel like, again, like Gia and Layla are picking up on. But also I also got to talk about Layla saying to Jordan that I love you, and helping Jordan through what he was going through, and having him have the idea of going to D.A. Barnes and saying like oh, like this is our idea, like we're making our own legacy, we're going to be doing this, we're not going to have you control how, like, I'm not gonna let you use my father's death as kind of like a pity piece or whatever to try to go in your favor to get votes. I'm not gonna have that happen. When it's like, we don't need pity, like here at GAU, I don't need pity. This is our program, and we get to control who's going to be the coach, and we get to control our futures and where GAU is going. And then I love when Jordan came up with the idea that everybody to make a video about like where all the team, like where the athletes want the team to go, and where they want the future of GAU to go, because it just gives a good look to, again, GAU, the fact of like it's the athletes that didn't have any involvement of what was going on with Coach Garrett, which I love that Jordan came up with the idea of like, oh, we're gonna tell the press that this is where GAU is gonna go, and I loved that. I thought that was really cool that Jordan kind of put D.A. Barnes kind of in his place, and I'm not gonna let you do this. We're gonna choose who gets to be the coach, and we're gonna choose how our future is with GAU. I thought that was really cool, but he took, of course, the credit, D.A. Barnes, with what Jordan's idea was about the videos of all the athletes, about them saying where they want GAU to go, and where things will go with GAU, and where they hope to go, and this and that. So I don't know. It was kind of like, damn, like, of course, D.A. Barnes, took, credit for it. But, of course, Jordan didn't care as long as as long as the team got to have control of where, they wanted the program to go. So I was like, okay, that's good, at least on that. But also, like, I'm glad that Coach Kenny got the position. I'm just sad that, Spencer just, is on his, just is kind of, pushing people away that want to be there for him. And it's sad, because it's like, while things are going up for GAU now, it's like Spencer wants nothing to do with it still, and he's kind of pushing everything away. And I feel like I feel like it's all like, what's next around the corner? Is he gonna push, like, totally be done with football? It's getting to the point where, like, he's pushing everything away, and he's pushing everybody that wants to be there for him away. It's gonna get to the point where I feel like now it's like he doesn't want to be there, doesn't want to be at GAU. He wants to go to a different school, but it's like, pretty soon is he going to push that away, in football in general, and kind of like spiral out of control? I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see where everything goes with that. But like, I don't know. Like, this was just a good overall episode. And my main thing is I'm really worried about like what's going on with like Patience and Miko, because that's a dangerous situation. And I'm glad that like Jordan and Layla were saying like, well, like, what do we do? We don't know anything about this girl. Like, what do we do? And of course, Layla didn't want to tell Patience about, Miko knowing where she lives, but I feel like, in a way, I thought, Layla I thought that Patience kind of knew it from the flowers, like, these are from Miko and the fans. And I mean, probably thought they just got sent to the label company, Layla's label, and then, like, Gia brought them over. I feel like that's what she thought, until, like, they realized, oh shit, like, Gia's like, I brought these were on your doorstep, and I brought them in. So, you know what I mean? It's like, that's when she knew, like, oh, Patience, like, Miko, like, that's when she says to Gia, like, oh, like, Miko knows where Patience lives. Like, this isn't good. So, I don't know. I'm worried about that, and I'm worried about Spencer. I'm also worried about JJ. I'm pissed that the writers keep doing whatever with JJ. I feel like I'm annoyed because the actor that plays JJ is really good, and I feel bad that he's barely in this season. And he's barely kind of in anything anymore, like with All American anymore. Like, I feel like they just don't know what they want to do with that character. And I feel like they gave him this arc to benefit what was going on with Asher, to give Asher an arc this season. Because I feel like everything that kind of started with JJ benefited at Asher's expense. And I'm really annoyed about that because I feel like what are they doing with the character JJ? They really clearly don't know what they want to do. Because I feel like, again, by him not really being in many episodes and every time he's in an episode, he kind of just like, we still don't know what they're trying to do with him, except they're trying to like, they gave him this alcoholic, alcohol addiction, but we don't know why and we don't know what's going on. And it's just very frustrating that they're doing that. And also, like I said, I'm frustrated that the fact that we're not getting much football this season. I don't know if that's ever going to change. I feel like, they really, especially like I need to see that in trailers for season 6, because if we don't get football next season, I don't know if I could be here for next season. Like, I'm at that point a little bit where like football brought me into the show, and it was just and I feel like the other things were like built on top of that, but the fact of football not really being a key part of the show really much anymore is very frustrating to me. And I feel like we kind of started to see the downfall of that, of football kind of being like the main point of the show. I feel like that it kind of all stopped with like the whole like, what was it? The whole thing with, what was it? South Crenshaw and Beverly, like the big like, rivalry that they had, in the championship or whatever, that we barely got to see that like championship like match. I think it was back in like season 3 or 4. I can't even remember like what season. I think it was like back in season 4. I can't even remember though. But like I feel like it kind of like started going downhill from there. And even like some football we got with like GAU, I was like, it's not as good as like the high school football sequences that they used to do. And it's kind of like, I don't know. I feel like it's also the CW curse where like things are starting to happen that I'm not really liking with no football, and it's just being nonstop relationship drama, and then them choosing and the writers choosing to do stuff with some of the characters that I feel like just isn't the characters at all. Like, I don't know. It's very frustrating to me. But I'm really curious to know, like, what did you guys think about this episode? Do you guys kind of understand where I'm coming from? Or, like, me being annoyed with not much football anymore, even though that's literally the point of the show. It's called All American. And I feel like we just haven't gotten football. And I'll always find that annoying that's the thing that brought me into the show. And it just was also, like, kind of like, everything else was just, everything else was kind of like, I don't know, kind of like everything else was just there, like kind of like an add-on to the show, but the point of the show was like football, and everything else was kind of like, this was over there, this was like relationships were right there, drama was over here, blah, 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 blah. But the point of the show was football, and I feel like we're lacking that a bit, and it's kind of frustrating, because I feel like at this point it's just a drama show, like at this point. I guess you could say a soap opera at this point. It kind of is, because we're not really doing football anymore. So I don't even know. It's because it's just, and by soap opera I mean just drama. Like, that's what the show is. And I feel like it was just nice to have a win with Jordan and what he was going through, and also what he was going through, but also what the team was going through, and like also like what Laura was going through. That was a win for her realizing that, I can move forward and stuff like this. But like, I'm also annoyed that I feel like it's just also like it's just so much like, they can't, like, it feels like almost they can't catch a break, these characters, like almost like always it's like like sad drama or something like that. I just want them to have wins and things to kind of like, for us to have some happy episodes, because we've been lacking on that a bit this season as well. So I just want us to have some happy episodes, you know what I mean? I don't know, I want things to be balanced a bit, you know what I mean? It's kind of one of those things where I'm like, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Because I keep thinking about the older seasons of All American. I'm like, okay, like there was a lot of football. They balanced things out with drama and relationships and characters going through certain things. And I feel like this season has just been like drama and shit. And it's kind of like, damn, it's like, can our characters catch a break, please? Like, I don't know. But guys, like I said, I want to know what you have to say about this episode. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Where are you guys hoping to see the rest of the season go? Definitely let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below. Again, these are just my opinions about the show. I always love to hear what you guys have to say. I just miss a lot more football, and I miss, them actually giving JJ something to do. I don't know. And I want them to explain what's going on with JJ. It's just frustrating that it's like, at this point, like, why'd you guys have, like, I wouldn't say, like, what's the, like, at this point, like, why have him in the show if you're not going to have him in, like, a lot of the episodes? I feel like that's what I want to say, but it's, like, I don't know, like, I feel like that's why they, like, I feel like that's why he's barely in it, and because they don't know what to do with the character, and I feel like if you don't know what to do with the character, then, like, maybe the character shouldn't be here. as sad as that is to say, I feel like that's kind of how I feel. It's like, if you're not gonna, like, if you don't know what you're doing with the character and you're just ruining the character and you're not gonna explain to us what's going on with the character, then why have this character? You know what I mean? It's sad to see them kind of not know what to do with the character and kind of ruining the character at another person's expense of giving another character an arc and something to do. And I feel like you guys know what I mean by that, because JJ was not like this, and I feel like they only made JJ like this to benefit what was going on with Asher and stuff like that, and it's very frustrating. And I thought ever since JJ came back and him and Asher were kind of like cool again, things were kind of going to go back to normal with like what JJ, like with JJ and everything like that, because I thought they kind of gave us the explanation of what was going on with JJ is because, you know, he didn't like how Asher was kind of like, you know, kept like coaching him and not really being a friend to him. You know what I mean? Like that, I feel like maybe that was the reason why he was like, you know, wanting to distance and was always like, it was just wanting to party all the time, was because of that. But now it's like that, we know that's not the answer. So like, what's going on? Guys, let me know if you guys know what I'm talking about. But, you know, again, if you're new here, subscribe to the channel and put those notifications, like this video. We'd love to have you guys here, part of the family, part of the channel. We're all about spreading love, positivity, and motivation. And yet again, guys, we're almost to 700 subscribers. That is the goal, to hit 700 subscribers. My initial goal at the end of this year is to hit 1,000 subscribers and get monetized. That's the goal. So yet again, let me know your thoughts and down in the comments below about what you thought about the episode, where you guys are hoping, where you guys are like, you know, where you guys are hoping this season will go, like how this season will end, like if you guys have any theories or where you guys are hoping the season will go, definitely let me know. But yeah, guys, that was the video. I hope everybody has a great day, a safe day, and I'll see you guys next Monday for episode, I think it's like 15 of All American Season 5. Peace.